So we're going to kick things off by discussing how you are going to start to build your foundation. And what we mean by that is that as you set up your SoftRip application, there is a rhythm and a process that you are going to want to follow. Now, you may already be a little familiar with some of these screens if you took some time to review the data that is already loaded into your application. But what we're going to do is we're going to start off by providing a high-level overview of the screens that you're looking at and then show you what it looks like to build your data. So let's get started. To begin building your product line, you will need to access the product subsystem. Your product system is where you will add and control the details that are related to your hotels, room categories, transfers, optional tours, cars, and more. Here you will not only be adding your supplier's locations, voucher notes, and their related services, but you will also be setting the cost, rate periods, and markup values as it relates to your services and your tours. In order to accomplish this building process, you will need to utilize 3 different screens that are available in product. These screens are the suppliers, services, and rates screens. The supplier screen is going to be your jumping off point. This screen is where you will enter your vendor details such as hotel chains, transfer companies, sightseeing companies, and more. On this screen, you also have the opportunity to add voucher details for your customers' documents and supplier descriptions that will appear when creating a reservation. Lastly, you will have a handful of fields available for you to enter the name, email address, and phone number of your point of contact at that particular supplier. Your services screen is where you can enter the details of all of the related services to that supplier. For example, once you add the hotel details under the supplier screen, you will begin entering the room categories, such as standard and deluxe room categories associated to that supplier in the services screen. The services screen also provides you with the opportunity to add service descriptions and voucher notes. You will also be able to set up the communication timing, which will allow you to send a rooming list to your suppliers and associate a block code to the service, which will allow you to set up and control the service's inventory. Your rate screen will give you the option to add your costs for your adults and your children. You will also have the opportunity to add multiple rate periods if you have to account for fluctuating rates. The masks and the designators that you enter under the services screen will carry over to your rate screen. So we're going to start off by looking at first how to build our suppliers and then move into building services and rates. So right now I'm in the supplier screen, and before we start building, I'm just going to click on this toolbar so that I can expand our screen a little bit. To begin building a supplier, you just select the plus sign at the top of the screen. Once you select the plus sign, you'll see at the bottom of the screen there are a bunch of different fields that are available for you to start building the content that is relating to that supplier. So again, we're going to build something real easy. We're going to do a hotel supplier, and I'm going to enter in a format for my supplier ID using the country code, the destination, and then abbreviating the hotel. So right now we have the Tropical Hotel, and we are rating that hotel at a 4-star. And then you'll see that under the communication method, I have a few different items that are available in my dropdown. So email communication, fax, no communication, or vendor direct. This is the preferred communication for that particular supplier. I'm going to select email communication, and then I'm going to designate this as a travel-related supplier, so I know this is a hotel. So now that we've added all these details into these fields, I'm going to conduct a quick search under my supplier ID so that I can see what all these fields look like as they're filled out. So I enter in my supplier ID, I select search, and you'll see that the Tropical Hotel displays in my grid, and all of these details have been filled out for us already. So you'll see that we have some fields that are available for us that are required, and then we have other fields that are not required. I'm going to select edit so that we can kind of see and work within these fields a little bit now that they've been entered. Under the description field, I'm just going to expand these boxes to show that if you are looking at a screen and you see these little tiny lines at the bottom corner, you can pull those screens down and you can kind of see all the information that's added. So for this particular supplier, we can store the address, we can store the phone number, the description information will appear in reservations, or voucher information can appear on the documents. But one thing that I really want to point out is this contact information at the bottom of the screen. So this contact information is important because it generates who you are going to be contacting when you want to send your rooming list over to your supplier. So we have a voucher contact, an operations contact, a tour contact, and a group contact. So all of this information is in there in terms of their contact name, the phone number, the email address. And what this does is that when you send over your rooming list over to your supplier, when you run these messages in operations, the email address, or if it's a preferred fax communication method, all of that will automatically be entered into your contact fields under the messaging option in operations. So now we're going to take a look at how to build our services. So just as a quick review, the services that you are going to load against the supplier are essentially the items that are going to be offered by that supplier. So right now we're looking at the Tropical Hotel. So the services that we are going to load are going to be the room categories that are offered by the Tropical Hotel. In order for you to access the services screen from the supplier screen, you can either select the services tab in the search menu, or you can use the right-click option and select the View Supplier Services. So I'm just going to select View Supplier Services, and what that's going to do is it's going to take me to my services screen. Now, you can see on the services screen, we already have a bunch of different room categories that are added against this Tropical Hotel. So again, to give us a little bit more room and real estate, I'm going to collapse the search bar. And then you can see we have a deluxe room category added, executive suite, junior suite, king suite, and these are all the different room categories and room types that we have loaded against this particular hotel. So we're going to take a look at how to load these services into the services screen. So you can load services into the services screen by selecting the plus sign at the top, and you'll see that at the bottom there is a brand new set of fields where you can start to enter your data into. Your second option is by selecting a row that already exists, right-clicking, and selecting Copy as New. Your Copy as New option will take all the existing data that already exists and it makes a brand new copy. What this does, it allows you to just edit the items and edit the information as you need, but it'll copy over some of the existing information that you already loaded into this screen. So in this example, we copied the suite, and what we're changing is a service ID to a queen suite. So what we're essentially saying is that all the information that was relating to the suite is the same for the queen suite except for the service ID. This is particularly helpful when you have a lot of data that you have to load. Instead of loading new data every single time, you can use some of your existing information you've already entered into the screen, copy it as new, change some of your lines, and save it. Now we're going to keep with this queen suite idea, and we're going to create a new service. So I'm going to enter a queen suite room category under my service ID. Your service ID format is completely up to you when it comes to hotel rooms. Our service types are going to be a hotel when we're loading room categories, but you can see when we look at the service type drop down, we have transfers, we have sightseeing tours. These are all dynamically pulled in for you, so you do not have to load any of your service types. These will already come ready for you to use in your Soft Trip application. Now your from and to dates are going to be the from and to dates that this service is going to be available for. For room categories, typically you'll do year over year. So this Queen Suite will typically be available from 2020 to 2021, 2021 to 2022. You usually will load that in a year span because contracts change and your negotiations change. But you can expand your from and to dates for a particular service type if you know that this one service, maybe it's a sightseeing tour, will be offered year over year. Under our destination field, we're going to start typing in the first couple of letters under Las Vegas, and you'll see that we have a responsive drop-down option. So I'm just going to select Las Vegas because that's where this room category is located. Now we've added all the details into this room category, so I'm just going to select edit so that we can talk about some of these fields. So you can see that the to destination field is grayed out, and it's grayed out because we're using the service type as a hotel. But if I go through and I try to change my service type to a car rental, for example, you'll see that the to destination field is something that we want to fill out. So that's just saying that maybe I'm picking up my car in Vegas, but I'm going to drive that car all the way to Phoenix, so my to destination is going to be my Phoenix airport. Another item that will change based upon my service type are my default designators. So you'll see that if I have a car rental and I select default desigs, they change. Now, if I move back to a hotel and I select my default desigs, those updates as well. So we definitely encourage you to go through your service types and just click on the default desigs to see what changes. You don't have to use the default designators for all of your service types, but there are specific service types where you're going to want to follow a specific format for your service ID and a specific format for your designators. We also have specific formats that you want to follow for your masks. All this information is laid out for you, though, in our full written material for our services screen. Now you can see what I'm doing right now is I'm changing some of my designators and I'm typing over my masks. Your masks are completely up to you and what's in your contract. So right now in my single room category, for example, I'm allowing one adult or an adult with a child. But my triple, I'm only allowing 3 adults. So children are not allowed in that room category. Another area I want to talk about are the block types and the block codes. So we have block, free sell, partial block, and on request. These are 4 different block types that you can choose from, and they really just control how your service is going to be sold. So for example, if I have my block type set at partial block, I can sell my inventory, and then once I tap out of my inventory, everything after that will be on request. If you are going to use a block type, you're also going to add a block code. Your block code is essentially what houses your inventory. So again, this is a free-form line, so you can add in your block code to whatever makes sense for you and your teams. If you're going to use a block type and a block code, you're going to set the inventory to yes, because that's saying that this particular service is going to pool inventory for you when it's booked. Another area you want to talk about is this communication timing. We have a couple different options in here, and basically our communication timing is triggering when you're going to take your rooming list and you're going to send your rooming list over to the hotel. So for this example, if I have a report immediately set on my Queen Suite and somebody makes a booking for a Queen Suite, then I will be able to report the names, the travel dates, and the room category to the hotel and to that supplier as soon as that reservation is booked. Now, that rooming list is going to be sent over to that contact that you loaded in the supplier screen.
So the last area I want to talk about are the duration fields and the pricing checkboxes that we offer on our services screen. So under our duration field, you see that you can enter a duration, a minimum and maximum duration, and the operational days. So for example, if I have a cruise service that operates for 3 days, in my duration field, we can enter in the number 3. In minimum duration, if we have a service where you have to stay at least 3 nights, for example, we can enter in 3 in our minimum duration. Our operational days allow us to check when the service is operating. So for example, you may have a sightseeing tour that only runs on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we can check off Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on our operational days. Now we have these check boxes below, and these help us drive how the rates will be priced for this particular service. So per 24 hours is used for car rentals, and if it's selected, an extra day will be automatically added to that car rental. Your price per duration, if that's selected, the service will be priced for the entire duration. And if that's left blank, the service will be priced on a nightly basis, which is what we want, for example, for our hotel rooms. Price per item, if that's selected, the service will be priced per item. So an example of that would be like a private car transfer. If that's not selected, then the service is going to be priced per person. Again, that is typically what we want for our hotel services. If we select first night rate, the first night cost is going to be applied to the entire duration of that service. And then lastly, if we have a divisible cost, it's typically used for buses, and those are divisible with the loaded cost being for the bus or the guide. This cost must be divided by the number of passengers to get the cost per person. If a service is marked as divisible, it must also be marked as price per room. The last step in our process is to build our rates against our services that we have loaded. So in order for us to access the rates screen, we can either select the rates tab, or we can right click on a row and select view service rates. So once I select view service rates, I'm automatically taken to the rates screen. Now you can see for the King Suite, we already have 2 different rate periods added. Now our rate periods give you the freedom to add multiple different rates based upon different parameters. So for example, you can see that the 2 different rate periods we have different booking windows and different departure windows. And this is important because a lot of times you'll have a contract with a supplier and the rates will increase if it's a holiday, or the rates will increase if it's a weekend. And that's why you want to be able to create multiple different rate periods against that service. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the rate period 2, and I'm going to use that copy as new option. So once I select copy as new, you can see that I am immediately taken to rate period 3. And what this is doing now is it's taking all those details against that rate period for that service and copying it over, so I can just make quick edits into here. So I'm going to change the from and to date fields and the book from and to date fields. So the date fields give you the ability to designate the rates based upon the booking window and then also based on the travel window. So your travel window are your from and to dates, and your booking window are your book from and book end dates. Now we have a variety of different filters available for you in order to customize the different rates. So you can see that we have commission values that you can add onto your rates. We have minimum night stay requirements. You have free quantities. All of this information is defined in the rates manual in our knowledge base. So at this point I've defined my from and my to and my book dates. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to start editing my costs. So you can see that in my rates I have cost fields and then I have price fields. So our costs are what we're going to add when we want to apply a markup to the rates that we have loaded. So at this rate I'm just going to freeform all the information and update my rates for my single, my double, and my triple. Another thing that we want to take note of is that all of the designators that I added under my supplier service have carried over to my rates field. So in my king suite, I had a single, a double, and a triple, and that automatically pulled over so I can enter in the cost value for my singles, my doubles, and my triples. Towards the bottom of the screen, you can see that I have the ability to add my child rates. So what this is saying is that children up to 2 are at 0 cost, children up to the age of 7 are at a cost of $15, and children up to the age of 12 is going to be $25. Now, how this service is priced, again, is based on those price per duration, price per room category options on your services screen. Thanks for watching. Please view our Knowledge Center for more information.